So, choices exercising the power of the soul. Yes, I put this together over the last couple of months. Well, I've had some experiences over the last probably since my initial consciousness of the Lord, things that led me to this point. But I had some really intense experiences recently, and it's inspired a lot of realization in terms of choices and our capacity as a spirit soul. And I'm just hoping to be able to share that with all of you, and whatever feedback I can get, I look forward to that greatly. So, to kind of get into it, I want to kind of stay on point just because the thing about Christian consciousness and our philosophy is that there's nectar in every word and every concept. And when you begin elaborating on a single concept, other concepts come about, and it can be very easy to get wrapped up in explaining different things. So I'm just going to start out with something that we all have felt or, thought about, and it's a mystery. It's a mystery that we've all had to deal with, and by definition, a mystery this is according to the English language, obviously. The definition of mystery means something that is very difficult or impossible to explain. And obviously, Foucault said impossible is the word in the Fool's Dictionary, but nonetheless, it is a mystery. And along with that mystery, there is a lot of doubt that goes along. So basically, I have one. So the mystery is, how did I get here? How did I get here? Why am I here? So before Krishna consciousness, we may question in this way. What's my purpose? What am I doing here? After Krishna consciousness, we gain knowledge about ourselves, our identity as a soul separate from the body, knowledge of this material world, what it is, how we don't belong here, and that we actually belong in our home, the spiritual world. And when we learn about this glorious spiritual world where we come from, and we learn about Krishna, then this mystery, full of doubt, comes and forms the question, how is it possible that I left? How is it possible that I left such a beautiful, beautiful realm if the spiritual world is a flawless land where every word is a song, every step is a dance, every action is a service, but not just a simple service, a service so full of love, full of pure emotion, that we're experiencing deeper love, deeper emotion, deeper flavor at every moment, and it continues eternally. So how is it possible that I left? There's so much doubt in this question that if we don't develop the capacity to cut it down, then it represents our doubt in the existence of the spiritual world, and it represents our doubt in the existence of Krishna. So, but let's just consider an analogy, because this isn't a mystery that can be solved by creating a formula that you can just sit down with somebody and say, this is why you left the spiritual world. It's a very personal thing. And although the details about why we left the spiritual world aren't as important as how we can get back to the spiritual world, it's still important nonetheless. So, and our acharyas have given us hints, especially Srila Prabhupada has given us hints as to why. But it's just in the essence, because you can never just
Every individual has to come to the individual realization for themselves that yes, now I know that I must get back. So, but let's consider the analogy that we're where we belong, we're in our home, and we decide to go for a walk, and we come across a forest. And we've heard of this forest before. We have some idea of what exists within it, what goes on in there. But we're told that we don't really need to be there. We don't need to go to that forest. There's nothing new there. But some reason or other, we decide that we want to go there. And not only do we want to go there, but we feel that although we've been told that it can be a dangerous place, we feel that I can handle myself. I can take care of myself, and that whatever comes at me within this forest, I'll be able to take care of it. I'll be able to overcome anything within there, and I want to explore it. And then we develop some kind of speculation that maybe there's a treasure there. And because we start thinking this way, we want that treasure. So we're going to go explore this forest for the treasure. So we decided to enter the forest. And as we're entering the forest, we see different aspects of the forest. Different features of the forest inspire positive feelings, different positive experiences. Things like beauty, happiness, relaxation, things like that, positive. But then we also come across things that produce negative feelings, fear, uncertainty, darkness. It's not all happiness, it's not all positive. And there comes that danger of the unknown, what's there. We become fearful. Fear is there in this forest. So, although we've had these positive experiences there, we've also had the frustration of negative experiences and this and that. So, at some point, we feel like, all right, I'm looking for this treasure, but I can't seem to find it. I always find something that's positive and like produces some positive emotion, but then I feel like it's not the treasure, that the treasure is something else, so I continue looking for it, then I become frustrated, and this and that, and now I just want to go home. I don't want to be in this forest anymore, I just want to go home. But wherever we look, we can't find our way out. We can't remember. It's been so long, we can't remember how to get out. We don't remember, we can't even retrace our footsteps to come to the place that we came into it. It's been so long, and everything looks the same, it's bewildering. So then we need to realize that I'm lost. We're lost in this forest and we can't find our way out. But it's not, we need to realize that we're helpless, but it's not hopeless. Because although we're stuck in that dark forest with all these mixed duality, there's still a chance to find light. And that light comes in the form of, in our case, Srila Prabhupada, and also for the welfare of any spirit soul to come. That light is coming from Srila Prabhupada. Well, he's transmitting that light. He's guiding that light to us in order to guide us. And that light comes in the form of this verse here, which describes Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, who are arising like the sun and the moon simultaneously on the horizon of Gaudadesh. And the light from them is dispelling the ignorance and suffering for all fallen conditioned souls of Kali Yuga. And what does that produce for us? Remembrance of Krishna. And in order to, by remembering Krishna, this is how we get out. This is the beginning of our retracing our steps in order to get out of this dense forest. And so coming back to this point of getting the hints, or the essence of of why we come here. Not the details, but just the hints. Krishna says that, one point that I want to make is that treasure that we're looking for in this material world, it's actually Krishna. Because Krishna says that I'm the source of the material world. So we leave Krishna to look for Krishna, but we don't even realize that. We go there like, well, there must be a treasure there, but everything we look for that's not directly Krishna, it's, even the frustration we experience, it's pushing us more to realize that Krishna's the treasure. So Krishna's saying that I'm the source of the spiritual and material world. So those who understand this, they worship me with love. So this is what Srila Prabhupada, what Nityananda, our previous acharyas, and everyone following their footsteps, this is what their guidance is. So, moving on. Because everything emanates from Krishna, everything that we have also is from Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is saying here, everyone's energy is generated or born from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. So this is more moving towards the essence of why it is in here, and learning how we can get out. So from this point, in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the description of the fourth illusion is given. It's a beautiful description. And in the purports, Srila Prabhupada gives some hints. Actually, in the last purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the first few verses of that chapter describe both the forest and how to get out of the forest. And in one of those purports, Srila Prabhupada says, again, getting to the essence, one has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. So, when you read the last purport of the chapter, it becomes more clear. So, what is ours? What belongs to us? In the 7th chapter, Krishna explains some of his opulence. But what I wanted to focus on here in the verses where he says, Purusham Drishu, which means I am the ability in man. So a lot of the time we identify ourselves with our capacities and what we're able to do. Our hobbies, our careers, these are things we identify with. And actually they come from Krishna. So we don't even possess those. These things that we identify ourselves with, we don't even own those things. And moreover, in the 3rd chapter, it's described that when you're fully conditioned, a fully conditioned spirit soul, your actions and behaviors are governed by the modes of material nature. So again, we don't own what we're doing. We don't own our actions. We don't even own the sound. Like Krishna says, I am the sound and ether. In the Bhagavatam, it's described that Krishna's sense of hearing is actually sound itself. How amazing is that? What are we the source of? Nothing. You know? So what Srila Prabhupada's saying in that report, that we possess something, and we need to know what it is that we possess. So if everything belongs to Krishna, what belongs to us? But we need to know what it is. And I'm sure did you want to add something? Yeah. I've dropped some hints. So, in a lecture on the 30th verse of the 1st chapter, Srila Prabhupada, he says that he has given you little repentance. He will not touch it, otherwise what is the difference between a stone and a living entity? So this is important. Again, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that we own something. Not necessarily that we own it. Krishna's given it to us. Everything's borrowed. But Krishna's given it to us in such a way that he's not going to take it back. So, in a sense, we own it. And Krishna trusts us to have it. And the reason Krishna wants us to have it, and the reason he won't take it back, is is because there's no purpose in our relationship with him if we don't have it. He would be no better off than somebody just, going out and, trying to have a conversation with a older. That's basically what your Prabhupada's saying here. And so what is that independence? Very often we hear Srila Prabhupada talk about our minute independence, or that verse that says our little independence. So we don't own much. We don't have a lot, to claim as our own. We don't need it. We don't need a lot. So yeah, this is where I'm going. Our independence is that we can choose. Our independence is that we have the choice at every moment, whether it's with our ability to speak, our ability to act, or to think. We have the ability to choose, and Krishna will never remove our independence to make a choice, because even if we abuse our independence, which we've all had the experience of doing, Krishna still has that hope that you will use it correctly and make that choice just to turn and look at him. It's described that he's always with the living entity, no matter what. Sometimes we feel like we're alone, but Paramatma is always there with us. Even with the most sinful person, he's there with them. And he loves them. He loves every one of you. He loves all of us. No matter what you do, it's unconditional. And he just hopes that at some point you'll just remember and just shed some attention. And then he goes into that ecstasy, Like, imagine giving your attention to a single person, just a single person, so much, and they're not paying any attention back, nothing. And you're giving it to them nonstop, day in, day out, every moment. You're just giving them, all your attention is there. You're providing everything for them. And then one day, they just look at you and maybe smile. Imagine how grateful you feel for that. Krishna's not going to be like, finally. It's described that if you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. So imagine if you're walking toward Krishna, Krishna's running towards you. So we have the ability to choose at every moment. Now this image is shown here, obviously this is, divine Dhamaya, which we'll get more into later. But our choices are very simple. And again, coming back to this chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains, again, the essence of how we come here. He describes it as being a weakness of heart. It's weakness of heart that allowed us to make the decision to come here instead of to stay there. And Srila Prabhupada says the first weakness of heart, the first fallout, is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thinking that we're capable, that we can handle it, and moreover that we want it. And he says the second is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. So the more we increase our propensity to become the master of all that we see, the more we become entangled within this forest of material nature, and the more we actually want to be entangled. It's this bewildering paradox. So, again, coming back to that independence, the ability to choose, Srila Prabhupada says, in a quote that I got, he says, the independence of the conditioned soul does not mean to fight with the obstacles offered by mind. It's interesting, but the quote is not finished. He says, but it's to surrender to Krishna. So again, showing that we have that choice. We could try to struggle it out here, trying to be the master, but mind's always going to win. I had the realization recently that in the fight with Maya, you can choose surrender or defeat. Interesting. Because you can't win. You can't win that battle. Surrender and defeat, some people say, oh, it's the same thing. But no. Maya's actually a great devotee. She's a great devotee, and if we surrender to her, she can actually assist us in our going back to Krishna. You know, it's described that she has the thankless task of ensuring that we're qualified to go back to Krishna. So, it doesn't mean that we should just, try to battle her. We hear that Srila Prabhupada says that practicing bhakti yoga is nothing less than declaring war on the material energy. But it doesn't mean we're capable to defeat it. In a sense, we're declaring war because we want to get out. But that war is actually within ourselves. And in an interview with a reporter from the New York Times, the reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, so, who created Maya? Did Krishna create Maya? And Srila Prabhupada, he didn't answer directly this question. He started talking about how God says, surrender unto me, so why not surrender? Why surrender to Maya? He didn't cater to this interviewer's questions, saying, oh, who created Maya? We always want to justify our position in material energy. Justify that we've made the right choice, that we're capable, that we're good enough. But Srila Prabhupada, he just cut that down and went right to the source, that you're avoiding the point. The point is to surrender to Krishna, not to surrender to Maya. Why are you trying to justify a point of being sheltered under, it's not even a shelter when you're just being pelted by the material energy. He says that is the individual's choice. It's our choice whether to surrender or not. So, whether or not Krishna created Maya, we have the choice of who we pick. So we made our decision. Another interesting thing about choices, in the Bible actually, there's it's one of the few lines from the Bible that I actually remember, but just from hearing it, even before I was a devotee, it had some impact on me. It inspired some thought. But Matthew's quoting Jesus, who says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and there are few who find it." So this again is showing that we have a choice to make. That we can follow everybody else who's very easily found, the path to material existence. And it's a broad, wide road. You can see clearly where it's going. Doesn't mean you're going to see everything that's going to happen on that road. You know where that road is, and we're comfortable knowing that we know where it is, because it's something, familiar to us. We don't have to worry about it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and few find it. So, the road going back to Godhead is not an easy road to find. But there are people guiding us. And actually the benefit right now is that we have so many people with big billboards, so to speak, flashing lights with arrows saying, here's the road back to Godhead. We don't have to worry that it's difficult to find anymore. Like, having devotees being out on the street. I was reading some Sankirtan stories that Vijay Prabhu was posting, and this one devotee was expressing how very often they have people coming to them saying, "Oh, Bhagavad Gita, I've been looking for this. This is great," and they basically walk away whistling. Very, very excited, they're going to read something about Krishna. So, all opportunity is there, but we have this struggle within ourselves. This struggle between which choice to make. This internal struggle of the divine versus the demoniac. It's an internal struggle that's going on within ourselves. And it's actually described that in previous yugas, this struggle of the divine versus the demoniac, it wasn't the same as previous yugas, it was actually divine and demoniac personalities. They existed within different areas of the universe, different planetary systems. And their struggle actually concourse the whole universe. But as time progressed, then things changed. The struggle then took place on similar planets. Like we have Ravana fighting with Ram on the same planet. But previously, we have examples like Indra fighting with Bali Maharaj across the universe. So, and then as time changed again, it took place within the same families, within the same country. And our example is between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. This divine and demonic struggle took place within the same family. But in Kali Yuga, it's much more different. It's much more intense, because every single one of us has to deal with this struggle, because the divine and demonic qualities are manifest within us. Both natures are within every individual's body in Kali Yuga. Krishna tells Arjuna that you don't have to worry, you are of divine quality. But if he were talking to Duryodhana, he'd say, Duryodhana, you've got a lot to worry about. Only demonic. He's actually the personality, he was Kali personified. But actually this internal struggle is given very nicely by this one analogy that I actually heard, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard, but Radha Swami, he gave a very nice class, and within this class he explains this internal struggle, and he quotes an Indian proverb. It's a North American, native North American Indian proverb from the Cherokee. And it describes a fight between two wolves, or two dogs. And so I have all the text here, so let's read it. So there is a battle of two wolves inside a stall. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, lies, inferiority, and false ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth. Now this is direct quote from the Cherokee Indians. And it very simply states the essence of our internal struggle. That these qualities are both manifest within us, and they're both fighting for supremacy. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how the modes of material nature, they're all fighting for supremacy. And this fight goes on. As long as we're within this material world, this struggle is there. So this fight between these two dogs, it's taking place. Whether we like it or not, there's a battle within us, and something has to win. Something has to be dominant. That's the purpose of the fight. It determines which side is dominant. So, which wolf will win? They say, the one you feed. The one who gets the most nourishment is the strongest. And the strongest will defeat the weaker. So this is the Cherokee proverb. And so this battle going on, and as Sri Raghunath Maharaj explains, when we're in ignorance, the good dog is very weak and pathetic. It has no strength. It has received practically no nourishment. And the bad dog, it's ready to devour us. The good dog. It's ready to devour the good dog. So we need to help it. You know, in ignorance, it has a chance. It has no chance. The bad dog is basically eating it. You know, so even if you give food to a half-dead dog, you know, it's being eaten by another dog, what's its chance? You know. So unfortunately, our spiritual masters have saved us from that. And when we're in passion, it's described as being a good fight. That good dog and the bad dog, they're sufficiently nourished to be able to take each other on. And we can see this, that somebody who's within passion, they actually have both qualities. They can have manifested experiences of, or expressions of positive, goodness, truth, things like that. But there can also be other things, in order to reach the goal. But when we're in goodness, the good dog is much stronger and is able to take on and defeat the bad dog, to subdue it, to tame it. And it's much easier to control. So it's all nice, it's cute. So this struggle is going on within us, constantly going on within us, and based on the choices that we make, we'll be able to either feed our good dog and thus attain goodness, or feed the bad dog, or try to feed both. I mean, we have those choices to make. So, how to come to the point where we can make suitable choices is important. And here, Srila Prabhupada is saying, those who are not devotees of the Lord are careless and unintelligent. Unless one is thoroughly intelligent, one cannot be a devotee of the Lord. Now, I like going and finding definitions of words because it's interesting. Sometimes we use so many words, but if somebody asks you, what does that word mean? We know how to use it, but we don't always know how to define it. So we have an idea of what it means, but we can't always explicitly describe what it means. So I just defined the word choose. And the word choose in the Oxford Dictionary is defined as being able, more or less, this isn't a direct quote, but being able to select a thing, someone, or something as being a better option than the other. Like being able to perceive that something will be of more benefit. So it's indicating the use of intelligence. So to be able to make suitable choices, we need to have suitable intelligence. And so I put a little kind of so-called animation together. It's based on an analogy that we've been given. Maybe some of you have heard it. It's about somebody who's fallen into a hole. Maybe we can relate to that. So they're saying, hello? Is anybody there? Somebody comes along. Maybe they hear that. Hey, are you all right? How can I help? I need a rope to get out. So he gets a rope and he asks, how's this? And to his surprise, the person in the hole responds by saying, this rope isn't good enough. So, obviously he's frustrated. We've been given a rope to get out of the hole that we've fallen into, and somebody says, can you give me a better rope? What's up with that? That shows a lack of intelligence. And, some people, they're just not ready to climb out of the hole. Maybe they've got something down there that, they're attached to for the moment. But also have an expectation, and we think we're great, so maybe they want, somebody to build an escalator, or dig another hole, put an elevator in there, they don't want to make too much effort to get out. But we need to have the intelligence to see that this is a rope, and this is my Savior. This is my Savior, and I can get out if I just grab hold of it and don't let go. Even if I don't have to climb it, they can pull me out. Maybe they don't have the strength to climb it. So we need to cultivate our intelligence to see that we've been given this rope to climb out of this hole. And the person who's given us the rope is our spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada has inspired others who are coming and they're kindly throwing ropes down in the holes, and people are, whether they're intelligent enough to take it, it's up to them. But even as devotees, Srila Prabhupada said in a letter that people must be intelligent enough to catch up this Krishna consciousness movement without being carried away by any sentimental wave. So the reason I like this quote is because this sentimental wave being referred to is a weakness of heart. And because Arjuna, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, he was experiencing being washed over by a wave of sentiment for his family. And Krishna said, give up this weakness of heart. Stand and fight. What you're saying is not befitting somebody who's intelligent. So I found this nice quote. It's actually in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Lila. And, oops. Double click. So I won't read it all out, but it's very beautiful. You can chant it with the tune, the Satvaswami Astika. It's very beautiful. But I have the translation here. O my Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. Although I have rendered them so much service, they have not shown any mercy to me. I have not been ashamed to serve them, nor have I even desired to give them up. O my Lord, O head of the Yadu dynasty, recently, however, my intelligence is being awakened, and now I'm giving them up. Due to transcendental intelligence, I now refuse to obey the unwanted orders of these desires, and I now come to you to surrender myself at your fearless lotus feet. Kindly engage me in your personal service and save me. So here, there's a nice, how to say, something that stands out is surrender myself. And the cause of that surrender is our intelligence. So by having sharpened our intelligence enough, we come to the point that we're actually able to make the choice to surrender Krishna's lotus feet. Knowing that Krishna will save us and Krishna will protect us. And he says so. Yes, go ahead. Yeah. And it's actually described in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says, armed with knowledge, stand and fight. I'll put that quote in later. But maybe I'll come with it. It's coming up very soon. So, I have this quote here because these three modes of material nature that we're forced and stuck making decisions with, our choices are limited to three modes of material nature when we decide to surrender to Maya. Even when we realize that we're lost and we want to get out of it, we can't do it on our own. We still have to make that choice to surrender to Krishna. And by doing so, we can overcome it. Otherwise, we'll just be frustrated continually. And Srila Prabhupada says, as I had said, I quoted this earlier in the presentation, that everyone's energy is borrowed from. So, rather than trying to wrap it up myself, I'll leave it to Srila Prabhupada, and I have the continuation of this section here. Anyway, anything I'm saying is just based on what I've heard or trying to repeat. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying is that everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service for Him. As the river draws water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must return to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, says that whatever we do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity must be offered to Him, the Lord. That is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. So making our choices for Krishna, in whatever realm or sphere those choices end up, just try to think of Krishna along with that choice. Does this choice bring me closer to Krishna? Does this choice take me further from Krishna? Does this choice feed the good dog? Does this choice feed the bad dog? These are important things, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, in the 63rd verse of the last chapter, that I've explained to you transcendental knowledge, confidential knowledge, and even more still confidential knowledge. Now that I've explained it all to you, think about it and deliberate on it as fully as you can, and then make your choice. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that it's our duty to come to the point of being able to make decisions based on what Paramatma is encouraging us to choose. So Krishna's there, he explains everything. And he obviously says, like, if you do this, you'll actually find satisfaction. He says that. He'll say, in my opinion. Krishna says very often, in my opinion.